We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Monday, but I'm recording this Sunday night. So, we're just coming out of the weekend. Not a lot of new news happening. There's a few things that we can talk about, certainly. But I thought I'd make this easier on myself because, as I've told you before, I'm a lazy bastard. So, I'm going to do a TikTok live while doing the podcast. And one of the reasons I like doing this is because it's a lot like having a guest on the show or the emails. It gives people who are in the audience a chance to interact, to ask questions, to make comments. Now, I've never done a TikTok live on a Sunday night, so I don't know what's going to happen here. I presume we'll get our fair share of folks, and it looks like we've got some people coming in. But we're going to do this as the podcast. So, for those folks coming in on the live, I just wanted to welcome you in. We're going to talk about some stuff coming out of the weekend, going into the new week, which is going to be pretty busy. So I was telling the other folks, and when I say the other folks, I'm recording this for the Rational Boomer podcast as well. So if you're here for a short time, want to hear the rest of the live, you can always check the Rational Boomer podcast. You can check the video version on YouTube, or you can check the audio version on Spotify. Just search Rational Boomer and I'll be there. So check out the Rational Boomer podcast. Those of you already listening to the podcast, you know what I'm saying, don't you? Well, we've had some interesting things going on over the weekend. Donald Trump is really showing his colors, showing that he's kind of losing it here. I Dissent says hi from Massachusetts. Optimus Prime, can you pray my state of Georgia? Not only will I do that, I'm headed down to Georgia, Savannah, on Sunday of next week, and I always pray for Georgia. I love the state. I have a second home there, and we're going to check it out. CH says, think our girl will win. Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. I think every day it looks more promising for Kamala Harris. Edward Kemp, nice name. Unless you know about serial killers, you don't know what that means. I watched every live you have done. Amazing. You are the man. Well, I don't know if it was amazing, but I have one talent in my life. I can talk. And it's not even always quality talk, but I can talk for length, no question about it. And says hi from New York. Hello from Michigan, Mary Henry. Hey, Mary. Good, like how Trump called Harris mentally handicapped. You say mentally disabled. And I find this interesting. This tells me he's really panicking because he's just grabbing at anything he can grab. Mentally disabled, Kamala Harris. Let's see. She graduated college. She passed the bar. She became a prosecutor. She became the Attorney General of the state of California, the second Justice Department, second biggest Justice Department in the country or in the world, maybe. She then became a senator and she then became vice president, now candidate for president. You really think Kamala is mentally disabled? This is coming from a guy who claims to have gone to a college but refuses to release any kind of report cards or any kind of documents from where he went to college. I've seen some things come out, and yeah, he's not a very sharp man. He's inarticulate, he's a malignant narcissist, and he's dumb as a motherfucker. Uh, Gabriel Jones says there's still so much talk about the polls being closed and it frustrates the shit out of me. Well, don't listen to that shit. The polls really aren't something you need to worry about. Look at the fundraising. Look at all the Republicans stepping away from Donald Trump and signing on with Kamala Harris. The polls are typically notoriously wrong, so don't worry about the polls. They were wrong in 2016, 2020, 2022. They've been always wrong. They're owned by wealthy people who want to manipulate what we think. And the moment you start thinking like the way they want you to think, then they fucking win. So stop it. Tommy Hero says, I love your podcast. You speak nothing but facts. I try. Facts to the best of my knowledge. Thank you. The violence with MAGA is ramping up. We must stay strong. I, I don't know what you mean by the violence. If you're worried about something like January 6th of 2021 happening again, That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen because um, we got a much different situation. Donald Trump isn't in power. He isn't the president. Joe Biden is. And I got to tell you, if a bunch of Trumplafucks come up to the Capitol on January 6th of 2025, shit's going to be decidedly different. You know, Joe Biden isn't going to let that happen again. And he's in control of the National Guard in spite of what Donald Trump tells you. And that will be shut down quick, fast, and in a hurry. So don't worry about that. Hello from Virginia, Papa Cobe. Um, hello from Kansas City, Missouri, Sister Marie Elephant. We got some old people out here. Edward Kemp, Sister Marie Elephant. Anybody remember where that's from? Cheech and Chong. We had all the records when I was a kid. Of course, that was in the 70s, and who didn't? Eileen says, how do you think the debate will go this week? I don't think there's going to be a problem. I've heard people say that, look, don't get too cocky. You know, JD Vance is Ivy League educated. He's a lawyer. Everybody suggests lawyers are special, like these special unicorns that can magically do things. I've hired some lawyers in my time. Half of them are dumbasses. Half of them don't know how to deal with people. And let's look at Congress. Here's some lawyers in Congress: Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Andy Biggs. They're dumb fucks too. So I'm not worried about it. The problem with JD Vance is, while he might even be intelligent and smart, he is forced to parrot and spew the lies that Donald Trump is saying. He can't speak his mind. He's got to give the same message that Donald Trump is giving. And Tim Walz will just eat him up. I know you think Tim Walz is just a nice guy, but if you ever listen to him, he's very sharp, very articulate. I don't think it's going to be a problem at all in the debate. I'm looking forward to it. I hope Kamala Harris takes North Carolina. Well, I think she's more than likely to do that now because of the things that Donald Trump has done. First of all, we have Mark Robinson, who we know is a piece of shit. He's not going to win the governorship. Donald Trump endorsed him. Now, what Donald Trump should have done is backed out of that endorsement and said, yeah, I don't know. I can't support that. But Donald Trump can never say he's wrong. He can never admit to losing. So when asked about whether he was pulling his endorsement from Mark Robinson, he said, I don't know too much about that. Well, that's interesting because just a couple of weeks before, he told us that he thought Mark Robinson was uh, Martin Luther King times two. And in terms of the story about Mark Robinson and the crazy shit he said, that was the biggest story for about a week and a half. Don't tell me, Donald Trump, that you don't know what we're talking about, because you're just too gutless. You're too cowardly. Yeah, I think Kamala's going to win North Carolina, because what Trump should have done is pulled his endorsement of Mark Robinson and said, yeah, don't vote for that guy. I was wrong. That's a bad guy. But Donald Trump can't do that. So as long as he's attached to Mark Robinson, Donald Trump will go down too. All right. Hot Grammy's in here. I only note that because I'm a grandpa and I got a hot Grammy here too. What can he do to make sure Trump is not elected? Vote. And I think we've already set that in motion. The only way we can make sure he's not elected by a vote, and not just a win for Kamala, maybe the biggest landslide in history. That would be something to shoot for. And it's a legitimate possibility. What else we got here? Polls don't vote, donations do. Absolutely. And not all donations vote similarly. You can get $1 billion for one or two guys, and that's only two votes. You get $10 million from 100,000 people, that's 100,000 votes. I think this is the end of MAGA? I think it's the end of MAGA in terms of having any power. They may stick around a little bit like the Tea Party did, but they'll ultimately fade away. People will step away from them. They haven't won a legitimate race for a long time. Donald Trump will be pretty much done after this election. So it won't be the immediate end to them. These people can't say they lose. They can't say, I was wrong. So they'll try to fight it out for a while, but they'll end up dying on the vine and slither back under their fucking rocks. Robert Hutchins says this is not going to be close. I agree with you. It's not going to be close. None of the facts suggest it's going to be close. Polls be damned. All right. What else we got here? Okay, Liar Destroyer. You posted this a number of times. If you post it again, I'm just going to block you. The violence of MAGA is ramping up. We must stay strong. I appreciate what you're saying. I've already answered it. I'll answer it again, but don't keep posting this shit. No, the MAGA uh, violence is not ramping up. Please tell me where the violence is. It's one more and you're gone. I'm telling you. Jose Armando Ojeda. The polls aren't even close. She's got it in the bag. I agree with you, Jose. Watch you from Vancouver Island, Canada. Now, here it's a beautiful place. I'd like to get up there. In fact, my wife and I were talking about that. Thoughts on the upcoming debate? I don't think it'll be close. I think that we've got a guy in JD Vance who is socially awkward and not allowed to tell the truth. He's got to tell the lies. I think Tim Walz is very smart. He's got a sense of humor. He can make fun of this guy, which will throw him off. And he's tough too. He's a lot smarter than people maybe give him credit for. Have you heard that Biden is going to, hold on, visit Tennessee and North Carolina, here where the devastation from Helene is? I hadn't heard that, but I've just heard it now. It wouldn't surprise me. He should probably send Kamala down to Florida and some of those areas too. I mean, that's what I told the people of Florida. You got this hurricane coming. It's going to be devastating. Ron DeSantis isn't going to do much for you. Probably the governor of Tennessee, probably not going to do much either. But you can count on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Whether you are Republican or Democrat, they will come through and take care of you because you're Americans, and that's the job. Wicked Games, nice to see you on here. Nice to see you as well. I appreciate that. JR says, I worry the flooding will affect voting in polls. No, flooding from this hurricane? Things will be straightened out well before then. We're not even to October 1st. We've got more than a month before that has to happen, unless there's another hurricane. I think people are fed up with Trump and his will be a blue election. Yeah, I think even the Republicans have had enough, and they are a um, stepping away from him because they're embarrassed by it. Is there a possibility that we can turn North Carolina and Arizona blue? I think there's a real chance of that. Absolutely. I think North Carolina and Arizona, I think there's a chance we could turn Florida blue too. So we'll see what happens with that. Thoughts on the Texas Senate race? Well, I don't know a lot about Texas, but I do have a guest on the show frequently, Jace, who lives in San Antonio. And at first, he didn't think there was any chance for Texas to turn blue or Colin Allred to be able to beat dumbfuck vampire guy, Dracula, Ted Cruz. But now he's starting to get a better thought about it. Things are picking up for Colin Allred, and Kamala Harris might be helpful to Colin Allred. So, yeah, I think Allred could win. And I think it's a possibility that the state could turn blue. I do think that's a possibility, which is weird because you never would have said that in 2020. Ashram Parsi, why do not have modern independent poll in the U.S. who reaches to new subjects? The polling companies are like every other thing, like the media in this country. They're owned by rich people and they're manipulated to manipulate us. Why don't we? I don't know. There's probably not money in it, and that's why we don't have it. Do you think she will win Michigan? I do think she will win Michigan. Um, JJ406 says, love your content. Keep up the amazing work. You give us all clarity and hope. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate the fact that I have some positive effect on other folks. I mean, when I started this, I don't know that I would have been anything more than an old white man out here ranting, getting this shit off my chest. But if other folks get something out of it, thankfully, I feel honored to be able to do that. I worry about the slow government response to hill towns, North or Western North Carolina, affecting Kamala's vote number. Well, part of it has to come from the state. The federal government can only do what the state allows them to do. So let's hope the states are going to be on board. I can't believe the federal government, FEMA, are going to be slow off the start here. But we'll watch that. You're right, though. If Joe Biden didn't jump on the bandwagon, get this straightened out right away, it could affect the votes. And that's why I've said send Kamala down there, go down there yourself, make sure these people are taken care of, first and foremost, because that's the right thing to do. Secondly, so you don't piss them off for the upcoming election. Edward Kemp, you're very informative. Your life has been so interesting to me. Wish it was a movie. Absolutely. I don't know that it's been that interesting. I've done a lot of different things. I thought about, writing some of this down or doing another podcast about it. It's interesting, but really, it's not that much more interesting than anybody else. I think everybody has interesting stories in their life. You just got to be able to recognize those stories and be able to tell those stories. And I love stories. I love hearing stories and I love telling stories. So maybe I make it sound bigger and better than it is. Um, let's see here. Okay. Well, I'm having trouble with my thing here. All right, somebody's suggesting that to remind you to listen to the Rational Boomer podcast. You can do that on Spotify, the audio version of it, and you can listen to it and watch it on the video version on YouTube. Let's see here. Western North Carolina is not going to be ready in time for election day. Really? Well, you know, that's the one thing I understood about North Carolina. There's been a lot of damage out there. And whether it's ready by election day or not, I don't know. I wasn't suggesting that they had to fix it by election day. Uh, I want to see the federal government on top of it, um, and spending the money and getting the help right away. The effort has to be made, and whether it can be done by election day, that's hard to say. Depends on um, how much work needs to be done. North Alabama here. Love your content. Keep up the good work. Hey, thank you very much, sweet Willie P. Um, that's the other one thing, and I haven't seen a lot of them as yet, thankfully. But if we get the Trumplefucks in here, and we most certainly will at some point, they're not my biggest fans, as you might guess. Um, if we get them in there, don't argue with them, don't interact with them. They're just trying to gain some exposure by somebody else's platform. You can't convince them of anything. No matter how smart you are, no matter how much evidence you are, they aren't listening to shit. And eventually they'll get mad and they'll go whine into TikTok. Oh, they're being mean to me. And then they'll give me a warning and maybe take me down as well. Bill Williams says we are going to witness history either way, the saving or destruction of truth and freedom. Please go live on election days. I think I will. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but I think I will. Um, Interesting thing is, I'm going out to Washington, D.C. Somebody asked me to give a talk on November 7th. So that's going to be interesting to me, too. I'll be here on the 5th during the election. On the 7th, I'm going to D.C. And after Kamala Harris kicks Donald Trump's ass, it's going to be interesting to see what the vibe out in out in DC is. Marn88, your daily TikToks calm me down and give hope after a day of crazy. Well, I appreciate that, Marn. Um, the thing about it is I'm going to warn you right now, it's going to get worse between now and November 5th. The Republicans, Donald Trump specifically, are feeling very cornered at this point. They don't know what to do. Their normal strategies aren't working. Their bullying isn't working. Their gaslighting isn't working. So they're just going to be spewing anything, like everything from immigrants or migrants eating pets to Kamala Harris is mentally disabled. I mean, it's all pretty ridiculous at this point, but the fact of the matter is it's going to get worse because they don't know what to do. Cheryl says, is there going to be a government shutdown on October 1st? No. No, there's not. A clean bill went through the House and the Senate, and Joe Biden signed it, so there is no shutdown. Just like I told you, everybody was worried about the shutdown. They were worried the three previous times, and every time I said they're not going to shut it down. The Republicans cannot afford to do that. So no, the country will not be shut down. However, they only extended it till December, which could still give us some trouble because the new Congress won't be in until January 3rd. So it's been extended till December. It'll get us through the election, but we're going to continue to have to go through this bullshit again. DGG, I'm worried about how the hurricane will affect voting. Asheville is a Democratic area. Well, that's a good point. We do still have some time to figure some things out, and it probably will take a lot of time to rehabilitate that area. But this is what I tell people: don't worry about things you can't control. All you can keep doing is doing the best that you can with whatever you can do and hope it works out. I think North Carolina will be at least somewhat back to normal. Maybe a lot of the stuff won't be fixed, a lot of the stuff won't be repaired because it takes some time, but I think we'll be all right. Shimmy says, respect your opinions, love your content. Thank you very much. I love the fact that you guys come here and talk to me at all. Um, do I think Vance gives Trump reach arounds? No, because I think JD Vance is a selfish motherfucker. Um, why does America celebrate being stupid? Well, that's a good question. And that's one of the things I've said. One of the most disconcerting things I learned since Donald Trump got elected president, I had no idea just how many dumb people there are in this country. And even after all we've seen and all he's said and all he's done, they're still supporting this guy. We've got an epidemic of stupid in this country. Sergeant Carter, from a retired Marine, I truly appreciate you, sir. Thank you, Sergeant Carter. I know you're not the same Sergeant Carter from the Gomer Pyle show, because unfortunately he passed away, but interesting coincidence. Santa Polium, this election is our chance to do a deep cleaning in Congress to get rid of lazy and useless. I agree with you. This is not only a great opportunity for us as voters, it's going to be a great opportunity for Democrats once they get the power in the House and the Senate to actually do the things they claim they want to do. And after the election, people say, what are you going to do? I'm going to be in the Democrat shit to make sure they actually do what they say they're going to do. Yaki Swifty, 39 days until the nightmare is over. Yeah. A lot of things are going to change after the election. We aren't going to be back in nirvana after it's done. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of things to fix. We've got a deep hole to dig out of. But what it will do is take the protection off of Donald Trump and some of these members of Congress that are probably going to get indicted. Everybody walks on eggshells because of this election coming up. Oh, we don't want to look like we're affecting the election. But the fact of the matter is, by doing that, they're affecting the election. But once the election is over, there's nobody who can claim, well, it's an election year. It's not. It won't be. So many of these indictments can go through, And I'm thinking we're going to see some members of Congress that are going to get indictments because they were most certainly part of the insurrection on January 6th of 2021. Can you block them, the felon lovers? Yeah, and we are. I have a couple of moderators, at least one out there now, TJ the plumber, and I can block people too. So when I see them, gone. I have no interest in talking to Trump fans. They're too stupid to speak at our level here. There's no point in trying to get into a conversation with them or convince them of anything. They're incapable of comprehending truth or fact. So it's just a fruitless effort. All right. Moving on. Did you hear Trump is saying to purge for 1 hour? Actually, I think it was 24 hours. That's interesting. He's this is how crazy and stupid he is. They asked him how he would bring down crime and such, even though crime is coming down right now. It's lower than it has been in a long time. But what he suggested is to get rid of the laws for 24 hours, let the police do whatever they want to do and clean up this country. So basically, turn this country into the old west, or worse yet, Mad Max. That's one of his policies. I've heard people say to me, well, sure, you don't like Donald Trump for whatever reason, but what about his policies? I said, what fucking policies? He has no policies. I challenge anybody that's a Trump fan to tell me a couple of his policies. Fucking fact of the matter is he has no policies. They'll say, well, close the border, lower inflation. Those are hopes and dreams. Tell us how you're going to do it. He can't do it and doesn't do it. Teddy, I'm from Canada. I've been listening since your first podcast. You're great. I enjoy your takes on things. Thank you, Teddy. Love Canada too. TikTok Terry, Trump is an empty suit. Yes, he is. Well, not totally empty. That diaper's dirty as fuck. Um, Shazzy says, thank you, Boomer. Keep me calm. So hopeful for our future. So Trump watched the Purge movie. Yeah, that sounds like a movie he would watch. Can Kamala turn Tennessee blue? Nashville area, huge area. Yeah, Nashville's big. Knoxville, it's possible. I don't know. I haven't heard much talk about that as a possibility. But like I say, in this election, I think we're going to see a historic event. I think Donald Trump's going to lose a lot of states that he expected to get, and it's going to be devastating. And I think that's absolutely necessary that we have a big win. It's not enough just to beat Donald Trump. It has to be a massacre of sorts. I think that country needs that as closure to this bullshit we've been going through for 8 to 10 years. The realist Morning Star, look forward to watching VP debate, but don't think it will move the needle either way. Well, no, that's the thing. It's not going to move the needle either way. No vice presidential debate has ever moved the needle either way. So let's not worry about it affecting the election. Let's just watch Tim Walz kick JD Vance's ass one more time. Sounds like the movie The Purge. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You apparently watched another movie other than Silence of the Lambs, and now he's quoting that motherfucker. He never explains about health insurance. Well, he's got a concept of a plan, as he said in the last debate. Coming in as president, he said, I got a better plan, a cheaper plan, a more inclusive plan than Obamacare. And he kept saying, 2 weeks from now, we'll let you know, we'll let you know. And now we're 8 years later and still haven't heard a thing, except in the debate. Kamala asked him what the plan is, and she said, well, we have a concept of a plan. I'm not going to tell you till I'm president. Fuck you. Liz Engelhardt, great content. Thank you. Only 39 days left. Absolutely. Thank you, Liz. TJ the plumber says, don't interact with the trolls. The mods will handle them. That's exactly right. If I see them, they're gone too. But he's the only one that can fix it. Yeah, that's what he likes to say. But what has he fixed? Did he fix COVID? He didn't do anything with COVID. A million people died. Businesses were shut down. I know they love to blame the Democrats on this, but the fact of the matter is had he done his job, it wouldn't have been nearly as bad as it was. Kangaroo says we need to codify the laws that affect women's reproductive health care rights. Absolutely. We need to get that done ASAP. We may have to get rid of the filibuster first in order to do that, but I'm for that as well. Please tell us Jim Jordan will be indicted. Well, if there are sitting members of Congress, he's most likely to get indicted. We know that he was on the phone with Donald Trump on January 6th, before, during, and after the insurrection. So if there are sitting members of Congress that are going to get indicted, he's got to be in the mix. All right, moving on. By the way, I want to thank all you folks for coming in and making this so much easier for me, providing questions and comments and that sort of thing. I love doing the lives. I used to hate it because very often the Trumplefucks would come in and they'd shut me down and just piss me off. But now with the moderators I have that do a great job, it works out perfectly. And I enjoy this because I get a chance to interact with folks I talk to all day, but I never get to hear back from other than emails. And by the way, if you ever want to send me an email, just send it to rationalboomer@gmail.com. Whether you're a TikTok listener or a podcast listener or both, you can send me an email there anytime. Typically, I'll read it on the podcast and answer it there. Is there any way you think he already has things in place to fix the election? No. Look, he's not doing anything different than he did in 2020, and it didn't work. The big difference was he was the president when he was trying to fix it. He had the Congress working with him. He had the DOJ working with him. He even had the Supreme Court, if he needed it, working with him. That's not the case anymore. He may want you to believe that's the case, but again, it just goes back to him and the Republicans wanting to scare us. That's what bullies do. And the only way bullies win is if we believe it and become afraid and step back. So don't do that. Trump is nothing more than a snake oil salesman, and a bad one at that. Hi, I just jumped in. Do you think we will hold the Senate? I do. A lot of people disagree with me, but I think there's going to be a lot of Senate seats that flip. If Florida flips to blue, if they don't vote for Donald Trump in Florida, how in the fuck are they going to vote for Rick Scott, who's a senator? Probably not going to happen. And then you've got Texas with Ted Cruz. Things not looking good for Ted Cruz there. I think there's a good chance we will hold on to the Senate. And I think that's important. If we get Kamala as president, majority in the House, a majority in the Senate, then we can get some things done. I think that many people who keep saying that they want to hear Kamala's plan can't hear it because, well, I'll tell you what they're doing there. Kamala has been more specific about her policies than Donald Trump by a long shot. Unfortunately for the Republicans, they aren't hearing anything that they can squawk back about or exaggerate. That's why they want Kamala to go into detail. They want to find something small, something granular that they can exaggerate and say, see, she wants that, she wants that. But Kamala's doing the right thing. She's giving just enough information and not enough information for them to use it against her. So what do you think about the Walz-Vance debate? I think Walz is going to destroy him. Vance is maybe better educated, but he's also socially awkward. Tim Walz is the opposite of socially awkward. J.D. Vance is required to spew Donald Trump's lies. Tim Walz knows the lies, and he's a lot sharper than I think people think. Did you see the transgender ads from Republicans? No, I did not see that. Wow, another guy just full of himself. Yeah, well, I'll save you the luck. I'll save you the effort and I'll block you. Am I just full of myself? Here's the deal. I think there's a thin line between cocky and confident. And this is what I think the difference is. A confident guy knows what he knows and stands behind it and will fight for it. A cocky guy knows everything about everything and won't shut up about it. If you want to think I'm cocky or full of myself, I don't give a fuck what you think, especially if you're a Trump-la-fuck. Um, Kim says I'm from the state and live in Canada. I'm from the States, live in Canada. Now I rely on you for every bit of information. Wow, thank you. I mean, there's other sources you can get, even here on TikTok. There's people doing what I do that do a fine job under the desk news, Midas Touch. A lot of folks are doing a good job. Florida stepping up. What say you will Kamala win Florida? I think it's a distinct possibility. I don't know enough about it, about Florida to predict it, but I think there's a lot of factors in place that make it a Democratic possibility for taking that state. You've got the abortion question on the ballot. You've got the marijuana question on the ballot. You've got a state that's been in turmoil and not running well because the Republicans have fucked it up. It depends on how upset the people of Florida are and if they're ready to move on and try to change something. But I think it's distinctly possible. I think we could see that. And frankly, if we see Florida flip to blue, it's over for Donald Trump. My fear is that Kamala and Tim will start to smirk and belittle and can lose some Republicans or flip. Eric, I'm not sure what you even mean by that. I think Kamala and Tim know very well how to handle the press and handle the people in this country, and they aren't slimy fucks like Donald Trump. Um, The Walls Vance debate really needs to be fact checked, especially with Vance admitting he creates stories. Yeah. It sounds like CBS isn't going to fact check it. And why, I don't know. I mean, for as much heat as CNN took after the first debate, you would think they'd want to do that. But I will tell you this: much like Kamala Harris, you can count on Tim Walls to fact check the motherfuckers, and that will make it interesting. Kalina says, "Hey, good to see you. I learned from your lives. Good to see you too, Kalina. I can't wait until this election is over and we have Madam President Harris and VP Walls in the White House." I have to agree with you. This has been chaotic and messy for 8 years, 9 years, and I'm getting tired of it. People have to be able to spend time and live their lives and have some sunshine and some happiness. A lot of what's been going on has been very dark and disappointing and disconcerting. But I see that Kamala Harris will win, will do well in the election, and things will look a lot brighter. As I've said, we'll still have a lot of work to do. It's not going to be um, night and day different because the problems that the Republicans created still have to be undone. And we have to watch the Democrats to make sure they do that. Um, I love how you're direct and to the point. Keep doing what you're doing. No problem. I'm not stopping now. Nana says, we'll win. I'm from Florida. I agree with you. What about Texas? Well, I was talking about Texas just a bit ago. I think it's a possibility it'll turn blue. People I've spoken to from Texas seem to think it's a possibility. I don't know enough about Texas really to make a good guess on that. I'm hoping. I think it's a possibility, but I don't know that it will. Texas is a whole different world down there. You know, they want to secede and all that shit. Um, I think we're going to turn red gerrymandered states purple and blue. Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the thing. You can gerrymander and such, but if you get huge numbers coming out to vote, even the gerrymandering is going to be hard to help the Republicans if it's just a crazy turnout. Kath Will says Chasing Oz says Florida is blue. Well, I like Chasing Oz. She knows she's a smart woman. She lives in Florida. She's got some connections. So if she says it's going to turn blue, I'm feeling pretty good about it. How much longer does Ron DeSantis have? You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I'll check it here. Um, Maybe 2 years, I think. Um, Hold on a second here. I'll check it out. All right. I got you covered here. I believe it is 2 years. And the interesting, yeah, his term ends January 5th, 2027. So he's got 2 years after this election. But here's the thing to note, he's termed out after that period. As of January 5th, 2027, his term is done. He cannot run for reelection again. So that's good news. I heard they won't fact check Vance Walls. People will be confused on who's telling the lies. Not if Tim Walls does his job, and I'm pretty sure he will. He'll punch back at the lies they're telling. And Tim Walls pretty creative, pretty funny. So I have a feeling he's going to embarrass JD Vance more than once while they're up there. Cackling Kamala, these types of foundations donate to multiple candidates. It means nothing. Okay. Jenny is gone because I know who you are. I know what you do, and we don't need you here. We don't give two fucks what a Trumplefuck thinks. In a little more than a month, you're going to be inconsequential because your boy's going to go down in flames. Can Donald Trump vote? Yes, he can vote. You're probably going to say why. He's a convicted felon. Well, here's the deal. In Florida, you can't vote if you're a convicted felon unless something else. Unless he's convicted in another state and that state allows him to vote. And New York, the deal is you can be convicted of a felony, but you can still vote unless you're in jail. If you're in jail, you cannot vote. So the state of Florida accommodates the state of New York in this situation. It's pretty convoluted. He's going to vote, but I'm not worried about that. Um, I think they were talking about the transitional ads from prison the Republicans put out. Shocking. Yeah, well, anything they put out is going to be shocking. They better be shocking because they're fucking losing big. Talking points after Trump loses will be pardon him to let him fade away. You're probably right, but I don't think that's going to happen. You know, when they pardoned Richard Nixon, when Jerry Ford did that, it was, well, we don't want the country so divided anymore. We just want to be done with this. And that may or may not have been right back in the day in the 70s. However, this is a much different situation. People have been dealing with this thing for 8 years. I think there'd be more of a divide, more upheaval if Donald Trump isn't held accountable for the things he's done. And let me ask you, do you think Kamala Harris is going to pardon Donald Trump? I don't think so. Don't think so. Make Trump lose again 2024. I'm with you. This hurricane is showing DeSantis as his worst. Florida is changing. Yeah, absolutely. Vicky says, love the way you deliver the message. Thank you. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Are you worried about Republicans in some states purging voter rolls? I'm worried that they're doing it. I don't know that it's going to do any good. Here's what you have to understand. The Republicans are going to try to do a lot of things like down in Georgia. But Kamala was smart. The campaign was smart. They hired 10 times as many lawyers as they had in 2020, and they hired the best lawyers. So anything that's being done is being attacked and sued for. So it's going to be a mess, and it's going to be hard for them to come through with this stuff in the shorter period of time that we have. Um, This person says Trump plan 2024. Watch and see. Yeah, we're going to watch and see Donald Trump go down the shitter and not get elected and probably go to jail. Um, what else we got here? I voted in Texas for 30 years. Each time we hope it will flip blue. This time maybe Cruz is out. Yeah, I've heard that story before. Jace, who's on the Rational Boomer podcast frequently, says he's voted for a long time, and he's just, even at times when they thought it was going to flip, like when Beto was running, they thought it was, and then it doesn't. So I get I get why you'd be concerned about that. I'm just hoping against hope. Everything's working for Kamala. Nothing's working for Donald Trump. I hope everything goes to shit for him. Will Trump eventually go away even after he's put in jail? When you say go away, I have a feeling you mean will he be out of the news and out of the clutch or no longer have a grip on the Republican Party? I think that's going to happen fast after this election lost. And if it's a serious election lost by a lot of numbers, the Republicans are just going to be tired of them. They know his future is uncertain. He's 78 years old. They don't even know if he's going to live another 4 years. I think they're going to be ready to step away from him. He will be at his weakest point, and people will be tired of his bullshit. Um, you know what I love? I love seeing these people come on and saying, Trump 2024. What do you hope to accomplish with that? You got a bunch of people here that think Trump is a criminal. You think you're going to change their mind? You want to own the libtards. Let me tell you something. You Trump-fucks are just dumb motherfuckers. You're just dumb. And it's not even worth talking to you. If you're a Trump-fuck, you're not smart enough to talk to me or anybody else out here because you're just not on the same level. I just hope his supporters don't tear up the country. They aren't going to do that. They're cowards. They said they were going to get angry and have a civil war when he was indicted. They said they were going to get angry and have a civil war when he was convicted. Never happened. Nobody showed up. They're not going to show up this time around. No pardon example needs to be made. No man above the law. Nixon had not been, we would not be here now. That's a good point. That was a mistake and probably set the tone for Donald Trump to get away with the shit he did. My head will explode if Texas goes blue. Well, Jesse, that might be good TikTok material. So on election night, I'm going to be live. So maybe you can come on live with me too, and we'll see what it does to somebody who is totally surprised if Texas goes blue. MAGA will never admit he's guilty because that means he made fools out of them. Yeah, you're absolutely right. These people just refuse to say they were wrong. Uh, Republicans are going too close for Kamala Harris because they want to get rid of the bully. Not sure what that means. Um, I used to get you several times per day, but then I get nothing. I had to do a search for you. Yeah, I know. That's the TikTok algorithm. But I will tell you this, if for whatever reason you can't get a hold of me on TikTok, all the TikToks that I do are also on YouTube under Rational Boomer. They're on Instagram and they're on Facebook too. So if you can't find them on TikTok, go to any one of those other places and you'll be able to find them. What do you think will happen to the MAGA cult when he loses? Well, they'll stir up a little bit and they'll whine and they'll cry. I don't know how long it'll take. Eventually, they'll just slither back under the rocks from whence they came. 20 years from now, and MAGA will be crying about the 2020 and 2024 election. Nah, they won't even be around. I mean, remember the Tea Party? They were kind of pre-MAGA. Where are they now? Have you heard of anybody from the Tea Party? No, they'll just disappear. That's all they can really do, or go quiet. If Kamala wins, how long do you think it will take for MAGA to fade away? I think MAGA will be around for a while, but as far as having any control or power, that will happen almost immediately. Patricia says they have people in different areas. They don't want to go now, so they want to interfere. Well, they want to, but they prove to be too stupid and not powerful enough to pull anything off. I worry if T wins, he will punish all who voted for Kamala. Not sure how, but wouldn't put it past him. Well, sure, that's a possibility. He's said as much, but he's not going to win. There's no way he's going to win. I wouldn't worry about it. Why suppose these questions that just aren't going to happen? Um, Lord, Lord, it come fast enough. Yeah, we've been waiting a long time. What about the electoral college votes? Are those doing okay? When will we know those numbers? We don't know those numbers until we know what states are won or lost. But the polls, for whatever, if you trust the polls, well, I don't. But it sounds like we'll be fine. But again, when Joe Biden won the election in 2020, he won by 7 million votes. I'm suspecting Kamala Harris will at least double those popular votes, and those popular votes will translate into electoral votes. I think she will win by a bigger margin in the electoral college than Joe Biden did, and he won by a substantial amount. How concerned are you about Georgia not certifying their vote, Kamala not reaching 270? Not that worried about it. Because, see, here's the deal, they have to certify their vote. There's a law that says they have to do it by a certain date. So the idea of hand counting and stuff may or may not work out for them. As I've said, there's some lawsuits there. So they may be talking a big game, but they may not be able to do all the things they want. Secondly, when you look at Pennsylvania, look at the possibility of Florida, look at North Carolina. If any one or two of those states go Kamala, doesn't matter in Georgia. Georgia's not important. Kamala will have no problem getting to 270. Realist Morningstar, thank you for blocking Trumpers and not letting them take over the discussion. Trust me, I've been in those discussions where they take over. We ain't doing that. What do you think about Trump seemed to be cozy up with Putin? I'm from Canada, so concerned. Well, he cozied up with Putin because he's what he aspires to. He likes that Putin has total control and that he's kind of draconian and kind of murderous and that stuff. And Donald Trump fashions himself a fascist. He likes anybody that's tough, and anybody that's like Putin knows how to manipulate Donald Trump. Tell him all the nice things he wants to hear, and then he'll do anything you want. He's like a puppet to Putin. Wawa just purchased a 1 month subscription. Thank you very much for that. It's not necessary. I don't require anybody to pay any money to listen to my stuff. The fact that I get your attention is payment enough, but I do appreciate that. Thank you. I hope Mitch retires too. Mitch is going to retire eventually here or just keel over because he's in worse health than Donald Trump. Do you think Kamala will win Pennsylvania? I do. I do think she will because they're focusing on Pennsylvania. They have more money than Donald Trump. They have Shapiro helping them out. I think they will. That SOB will live to be in his 90s. I don't know about that. And the reason I don't think he will has nothing to do with his immediate health right now. He's not healthy right now. But when the convictions and the sentences start coming down on him, that's a lot of pressure on any man, let alone a 78-year-old psychopath. I wouldn't want Trump around my children. Oh, hell no. If I saw Trump standing near my granddaughter, I'd kick his ass just on principle. What's being done to make sure Trump tries to overturn the election? Well, there's all kinds of things going on. As I've said, Kamala's got 10 times the lawyers they had in 2020. They're all over, and they know exactly what he's going to do because it's going to be nothing different than what he did in 2020. I wouldn't worry about that as much. They're going to get this news out to make you scared. That's what the media wants you to do. The more afraid you are, the more you'll listen to you'll listen to their media outlets. They want you scared. They want you nervous, and that's why when they report to you that they want you to have skin in the game and be watching it all the way up to November 5th. Somebody says they're neck and neck in the polls. Yeah, well, she's actually starting to lead the polls in many areas, and that's if you believe the polls. What about Jill Stein? Jill Stein's a non-factor. She was a non-factor in 2020. She's a non-factor now. I don't even know why anybody would be worried about her. Ex-Republican since Trump. I planned on going back, but I know now I was wrong. Thank you for recognizing that. What's your take on Arizona, Texas, and Georgia changing the election laws to cheat? Well, I'm not surprised, and neither is Kamala Harris's campaign. That's why she has the lawyers. You got to understand these people are fighting for their lives. When they lose this election, chances of them winning another one are slim because in 2028, the majority of the voters in this country will be millennials and Gen Zs, and 75% of them vote Democrat. So they're fucking done after this election. What do I think about the shootings at Trump? It's hard to say. There's a lot of fishy stuff around it, and I hope the facts come out. They won't come out till after the election. But if we find out there was some coordination with the Trump campaign with these things, somebody needs to go to fucking jail. Wisconsin Supreme Court made RFK stay on the ballot. I get a kick out of Donald Trump thinking RFK is a benefit to his campaign. He's a detriment. He's just as crazy, just as dangerous as Donald Trump, and he can't help himself. Um, he's got to continue to say something stupid. I will tell you this. I've got some creators coming through and say, I want to jump on with you. I'm going to start doing some like that where I have other creators on, but they're going to be creators I know. I've just early on when I was doing lives, I let anybody come on, and that was a fucking mistake. Um, the reason I don't do it in situations like this is because I'm recording it for the Rational Boomer podcast. And if I put you on, I'm recording I'm doing the live on my phone, and I'm recording um, the podcast on my computer. So if somebody comes on and talks, they won't have it on the podcast and it won't make any sense. So I can't do it that way. I apologize. Um, do polls feel like they're slipping for Kamala? Slipping on Kamala or for Kamala? I think most of them are all going toward Kamala. And I think as we get closer to the election, it'll go stronger for Kamala uh, um, because they're not going to want to look stupid when he gets hammered. So slowly but surely, they'll be getting more positive for Kamala. Speaking of detriment, did you see Roseanne Barr? Even Carlson was seemingly mocking her. Yeah, Roseanne is she's a sick woman. There's something mentally wrong with her. She was on there talking about the migrants eating the pets, and then she went even further and said they're eating babies. They're vampires. Even Carlson was, like you say, mocking her and laughing. I'm sure he felt uncomfortable with that whole situation. A lot of these problems are because Fox, I wish it would be shut down. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Most of our problems today do have to do with the media. Fox is the reason we're divided because people can watch Fox and people can watch MSNBC and they're not told the same story. I've argued with Trump LaFox before, and I'll say something and say, I never heard that when it might be a mainstream story, but Fox doesn't report it. So if people are getting different stories, that's why we're divided. We can't rationalize out what we believe if we don't hear the whole story. And I think that the left side media gave Donald Trump a lot of free time early on because he was good television and they could make money off of it. And that legitimized him when he wasn't really a legitimate candidate when he first got in. Do you feel Ohio is a lost cause? The campaign seems to have written plus off. I don't, I would think there's a chance for it to turn blue with all that's going on in Springfield. If I live in Ohio and I see what they're doing to Springfield, I'd want to get out of the clutches of the Republicans. But I don't know that many people from Ohio, so I don't know if there is cognizant of what's going on there and if it bothers them that the Republicans are doing this to innocent people. How do you feel about him meeting with Dave Ramsey? Who? Trump? First of all, Trump is a dipshit. Second of all, Dave Ramsey is a dipshit. I don't like Dave Ramsey. I listened to him a few times over the years, and I think he's an arrogant fuck. That's not that much different than Alex Jones. All right, let's get ahead here. How will Governor Walz do on Tuesday? He will kick JD Vance's ass. I'm just telling you. I heard illegals may be able to vote. No, they've never been able to vote. That's always been a law. That's never been the case, in spite of what the Republicans wanted to run through the House, which they didn't accomplish. If the House and Senate go blue, Biden should start writing orders and change the Supreme Court. Yeah, that's something a few people have talked about, and that's not a bad idea. If Congress goes blue, Congress changes over on January 3rd. So as of January 3rd, we would have a Democratic Senate, a Democratic House. And that would leave about 17 days until the inauguration where Joe Biden could do pretty much anything he wants. And it wouldn't be blamed on Kamala Harris. He'd have to take the heat. I don't know if he would do that, but I fucking hope he does. Melania will turn on Trump to save herself. Fuck Melania. You know what? A lot of people say, oh, poor Melania. Fuck Melania. She knew what she was getting into. She's just as bad as he is. I hope she goes down too. Um, Trump doesn't know when he's actually insulting women. That's a good thing. Yeah, he says things and he doesn't understand that people will take them negatively. He thinks he's doing something good. He thinks he's being funny or clever. I think a lot of things he says, he's trying to be glib or funny or clever. Unfortunately, he's not funny, so people take it seriously and it goes very badly for him. All right, moving on. Again, I thank you all for joining me on this live. It's much appreciated. Fox is the reason we are divided, no question. It's not possible for illegals to vote. This is a MAGA fear mongering. Absolutely. This person says we are divided because Democrats want it this way. I'll save you the trouble. God, we know who you are. Who lied about the Trump Russia collusion nonsense? Well, it's interesting you should bring that up. Donald Trump has continued to say that the Russia thing was a hoax. Well, it was not. Why was Manafort, his campaign manager, sent to jail for dealing with Russia? Why was that? Why is it that Russia meddled in the election for the benefit of Donald Trump? They did it in 2016, they did it in 2020, and they did it. They're doing it now for 2024. And if we're talking about the Mueller report, remember in the Mueller report where Donald Trump said he was exonerated, there were 10 separate occasions where they said Donald Trump committed obstruction of justice, that he would be tried for those crimes had he not been sitting president. But there is a possibility he could be convicted of those crimes after he was no longer president. The whole idea that the Mueller report exonerated anybody and there was no connection with Russia is absolute bullshit. And that stuff is going to come to light after the election. And there's not going to be any pushback because Donald Trump will be muzzled by them. TJ the Plumber says, don't interact with the trolls. The mods will handle them. Yes, that's true. Did he endorse Kamala? No, he didn't. Diddy's busy with other shit right now. He's not worrying about who to endorse. And by the way, there is no pictures of Kamala and Diddy, but there's a bunch of pictures of Diddy and Donald Trump and Epstein. Yeah, who's the creepy motherfucker here? Um, you know that when Donald loses, he's going to try to flee the United States. I don't know how he's going to do that, though. It's going to be a lot of problems for him to do that. Once he gets sentenced, they're probably going to take his passport. He has a secret service around him, which is a law enforcement agency. If he decides to flee the country, that would be a crime. And the Secret Service, whether they like him or not, can't allow him to do that. So I don't. And where's he going to go? Really, where's he? Is he going to go down to Bali with Russell Simmons? I don't know. Do you think Donald will blame JD for the loss, even if it's in a landslide? Yeah, he'll blame him. I always get a kick out of people thinking JD Vance is dragging down Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't need JD Vance to drag him down. He's got 34 felony convictions. He's been found liable of sexual assault. He stole classified documents and disseminated them to our adversarial countries. JD Vance is the only thing JD Vance is he's a sycophant and he can't help Donald Trump. Nobody can make it worse for Donald Trump than Donald Trump has already done. Fox ignores all bad stories about Republicans, just doesn't report it. That's absolutely true. Just watch the movie about Shirley Chisholm, Making Way for Kamala. That is a good movie. And I remember being in about sixth grade when Shirley Chisholm was running for president. And I didn't know much about it. I knew it was a big deal back then. I watched the movie. Great movie. Do I live paycheck to paycheck? Sometimes, sometimes not. If you're trying to suggest that I'm wealthy here and making tons of money, that's not the case. I'm retired. I invested some money and I have a pension and that sort of stuff, and I live comfortably. Journey says, "Did you know that Dave Ramsey met with Trump? I did not know that. Don't even fucking care. Goes against the Christian teaching, don't you think? I think everything Donald Trump goes against the Christian teachings, and I think Dave Ramsey's a piece of shit. Um, do you think we will have a winner on election night? No question. No question about it. I'm in Ohio, my neighborhood. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you in Ohio. Harris is losing in Ohio. I don't get it. I don't get it either. But again, we're talking polls. Polls are notoriously wrong. Um, One thing we do know, Kamala Harris has told us 1,000 times she grew up in a middle class. Well, she did. And what of it? Friendly citizen, I like the rational boomer. Well, I like you too, friendly citizen. Thank you. I hope he brings some dogs and cats with him. No, I don't know what that means. I mean, I do know what it means. I don't get the joke. It's hard to believe anyone is still a leftist. You all have been brainwashed. Um, that's projection again. The only people that have been brainwashed are the people that still think Donald Trump is a good candidate. He's a fucking criminal. Um, he's been convicted 34 times and he's got more coming. Uh, Ben Sims says, I live in Ohio. All my neighbors drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah. There are a lot of them, and I think a lot of people who live in rural areas and see a lot of Republicans around them maybe get a misconception of how many there are. There may be a lot around you, but there's a lot more Democrats around the country. All right. What do you think about Trump giving money in the supermarket for food? I think it's just um, a photo op, and I think it was probably illegal too. Will Joe pardon Hunter? He said he wouldn't. He probably wouldn't, but I hope he fucking does, just to shove it in the face, on that last day before the inauguration. Oh, by the way, I'm pardoning Hunter. Jeff Flake has just endorsed Kamala Harris here in Arizona. That's a big deal. He's a Republican. She's just as bad as him. They deserve each other. Who's just as bad as him? Don't know what you're talking about, Angel. If JD can get off the couch, yeah, well, there's that too. Why do people believe that the non-US citizens have ever been able to vote? We are that stupid. The only reason they believe that is because the Republicans, the Trump-fucks, told them that. They've never been able to vote. There's never been a problem with immigrants voting. It's just they make up a problem because they've got nothing else they've got nothing else to argue with the Democrats about. Okay, TJ the plumber says, Mike, we're at an hour and a half. Well, we're not at an hour and a half. Oh, I got a violation warning. I'll probably go another 10 minutes and we'll wrap things up. I don't want to bore anybody out here. What about the merchandise he's selling? Is that legal? Um, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if it's legal. And I'm not sure what he does with the money is specific. Does it have to go right to the campaign or does he put it in his pockets like we know he does? Bob, both candidates are poor, but we need to vote for the best. I don't care about their personal life. I agree. Personal life makes no difference. Um, I live in Harrison, Ohio, and a local bar got shut down because they had a drag show. God forbid. Do you think Florida will turn blue? I think that's a possibility. When he loses and can't save himself from prison, do you think he will defect in his plane? I don't think he'll be able to. I don't think he'll be able to afford the plane. I don't think he'll have his passport by then. And I don't think the Secret Service will allow it. I don't think they can allow it. Um, you're never boring. Well, I've got two sons that would tell you otherwise, but thank you. Bugaboo, thank you for calmly answering all the questions. I listened to other lives, way too argumentative. Yeah, that's the thing. When I watch other lives, they want Republicans to come in. They want a debate. And to me, the debates are so pointless because you can't convince the Republicans or Trump-a-fucks to believe the truth. They don't want to believe the truth. They just want to make noise. And what they really want to do is co-opt your platform. They don't have the ability to draw a big enough audience. So they come to my platform or some of these other creators' platforms and they try to spew their message to more people. Now, all these people um, aren't listening to their shit, but they think they're accomplishing something. So to sit on this live and debate a Trump-a-fuck just doesn't appeal to me. I've debated a couple Trump-a-fucks. It's way too easy. They're way too dumb, and it's just not valuable. Panda Gal says, whenever I'm feeling stressed out about the election, I go to your page or listen to your podcast. Thank you very much. I like the hats you always wear. What brand are they? Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. They're no specific brand. They aren't even that great of hats. They're inexpensive hats. Before I started doing this, I didn't wear hats too much. Then a doctor told me I should wear hats because of the sun, and I got a bald spot up there. So go to one of the online places where you can get cheap hats and just buy them there because that's where I buy them. Nothing fancy. I don't understand how this race is so close. What are the Dems doing wrong? The race isn't this close, and the Dems are doing everything right. Don't worry. Polls don't tell us shit. When you grow up middle or lower class, it wires your brain different. Hardworking and empathy win. I agree with you. Bugs Bunny, Monty Python, and Rudy Giuliani all have appeared in drag. That's true. Milton Berle. A lot of people have. Taylor is in Florida right before the election. Hopefully, she encourages everyone to vote. Taylor. Not sure who that is. Oh, you're talking about Taylor Swift. Yeah. Oh, that bugs the Republicans that Taylor Swift is out there pitching for Kamala Harris. They've already taken his passport. Believe that. Well, they may have. They should have taken it by now, taken Donald Trump's passport, but I hadn't heard it officially, so I don't know. I mean, he's gotten so many other accommodations that nobody else would have gotten. It wouldn't surprise me if he still has his passport. But I don't think he's going anywhere. People say, oh, go to Russia. They don't want him there. If he loses this race, he's of no value to Putin. And Putin doesn't like the guy. He only likes him if he can get something out of him. And if he's not elected president and he's been convicted multiple times, he's nothing but dead weight. Putin doesn't want him around. I heard he uses a lot of campaign money for lawyers. He does. And that in itself might be a crime. That may be something we see crop up after the election. So that will be interesting. Lazy Father Slacker. Hi, Mike. Hey, how you doing? Uh, Junie doesn't think you're boring, Mike. Sometimes she does. Junie's my granddaughter, and we got a good relationship. She thinks I'm really old. She thinks I'm really old, maybe because I told her I was really old, and she feels like she has to take care of me. Whenever she and I and my wife are walking along, I'm always lagging behind because I'm a slow walker. And my granddaughter says, "Grandma, why is Grandpa walking so slow?" And she said, "Well, he always walks slow." And then she steps back and holds out her hand and grabs my hand and says, "It's okay, Grandpa. I'll help you." Apparently, she thinks I'm decrepit. I'm not, but well, I'm happy to have the help from a cute little girl. How can they put a former president in jail? That will never happen, unfortunately. Um, I don't know where you get that from history. Well, nothing like this has ever happened in history. With the crimes he's committed, they don't really have a choice but to put him in jail, to suggest, well, they've never done it in the past. Well, Donald Trump's done a lot of things no president has ever done in the past, too. So I don't think that's a good argument. Um, See all my blue friends next time. If he tries to flee, he should lose protection of the Secret Service. Well, he'd have to. I mean, first of all, the Secret Service is going to get in trouble for letting him go. They're going to have to go with him, but he'll lose a lot of things. He's not going to blow the country. He doesn't really have any place to go. From Northern Alberta, Canada, I love your content. Thank you very much. What about Trump in Georgia? I think I think Kamala will still win Georgia. I know they're fucking around with things, but Kamala has a lot of lawyers working on it. A lot of the stuff they want to do, like the hand count, is absolutely illegal. So I don't know that they'll get through with it. But I think there'll be a big turnout for Kamala, and they can try what they want. But yeah, I'm not confident that he's going to be able to pull any of that off. Who are some of your local or your favorite creators in this realm? I like Chasing Oz. I like the kid Harry Sisson. I like Midas Touch. The thing about it is, when I watch creators, I'm not looking for their analysis of the stories. I'm just wanting to hear about stories that interest me. That's how I watch the media too. I hear a story and I say, okay, I'm not listening to them. I'm going to go dig it out with AP and NPR and all the sources I know I can trust. When I get all the information about it, then that's how I do it. A lot of times I will just scroll on TikTok watching other things other um, than the political stuff. But there's Arlene Unfiltered. She's great. She's more detail oriented, more data. I can only listen to so much of it because I'm an information junkie, but I got to keep things moving. Um, haven't seen you on my for you page in forever. Wonderful to see you and hear you. Yeah, that's an algorithm thing, Miranda. I've told people before, if you don't see me coming up on TikTok, the same TikToks are on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook too, so they're easy to find if you can't find me here. You are my American hero, bud, Benny Sims or Ben Sims. Well, I'm no hero. I'm just a loudmouth white guy, old white guy sitting in his living room, but I appreciate the kind words. Feds are gearing up for civil unrest. Either way, it will be on for the division of us. I don't think there's going to be any unrest. There'll be people screaming and crying. I tell you what's going to happen more than anything. People are going to be cheering in the streets. People are going to be celebrating because Donald Trump gets beat. Butterfly Love Queen. I need more people like this in my life. Well, thank you. What about North Carolina? Can we win it? Yeah, I think we can. I think we can definitely win it. I think everything is working against Donald Trump there. Trump name appeared 312 times in Project 2025. Crazy he may think we don't know and he's deflecting. Well, he also told us he won the debate too. He's not above gaslighting us and saying that something happened that didn't happen. He's all about don't believe what you see or hear, just believe what I tell you. Now you have to be stupid to do that, and there's fewer stupid people than there are intelligent people, so that's why he'll lose the election. Larry says, yeah, I watch Harry Sisson's lives and hate listening to his MAGA guests just lie and fearmonger. Yeah, I've listened to Harry talk to some of these Republicans, and I can only take it so long because I know where this is going. Harry's a very smart kid. I'm impressed by a kid that young being that smart, but I can only listen to the debate so long. Don Ovan, this is the first time I'm hearing you. Thank you. You make a lot of sense. Well, thank you, Don. I appreciate that. I try. Um, okay, now stop it. I'm not an American hero. I'm an old white guy sitting in my living room with a loud fucking mouth. What do you think about the Electoral College? I think it's antiquated. I think it's a joke. And I think once the Democrats get control, hopefully they dismantle it. Get a Minnesota Gopher hat. Well, we've got Minnesota Gopher hats here. I don't typically wear anything on my hat. People say, why? You don't want to advertise? It's not that. Because if I wear a hat with something here, when you look at it, when I'm on my phone, it's going to be backwards. And then you're going to be sitting there going, what the fuck does that mean? And not listening to what I say. Um, my dad used to say his bald spot was his solar hero or solar panel. That's a good one. I like that. I don't know that I could say that. Your address to Joe Manchin made my week. He won't be missed. Now, that piece of shit, I'm glad he's gone. Already voted mail in here in Jersey, Harris Walls, and blue up and down the ballot. Way to go. Nice job. I'm worried about the Electoral College. Don't worry about the Electoral College. This win will be so big, he'll easily or she'll easily win the Electoral College. I'm with you from Mariana, Florida. He's too old to know Taylor. I know who Taylor Swift is. I've got nieces, grandnieces and stuff. I know who Taylor Swift is. I don't I don't listen to a ton of her music because I'm 64, but I do have a lot of respect for her integrity and decency. I think she's quite an impressive young woman. She's self-made. She's highly successful. I did spend some time working in the music business back in the day, so I know what she's accomplished is truly fucking amazing. I know who she is. Um, can everyone say President Trump? I can't say that, but I can say bye, motherfucker. Oh, these people try so hard and they're so unclever. I feel sorry for them. West Virginia won't miss him, but Jim Justice is running for his seat. Yeah, they're likely to get a Republican in the West Virginia thing, but let's be honest. Joe Manchin was never a real Democrat anyway. He didn't help anybody. Grew up poor, family with steel workers. Oh, goodness. Okay, I have to go to another. I can't. These things keep taking off on me, and I get in the middle of something I'm reading. If I don't hold it, I lose it. I'm in Minnesota. Do they start the count early votes before the election day so they're tallied? I think they do here in Minnesota. I think you're right. You remind me of Lawrence O'Donnell. Now that is high praise because he's one of the few people that I watch in the media that I like, I trust, and I know is pretty smart. So thank you for that. Heritage Foundation picked Vance for VP, want to rid Trump with 25th Amendment. So Vance, yeah, there's some talk of that. They may not even have to use the 25th Amendment. Donald Trump may not last that long. I don't disagree with you that their plan is ultimately for JD Vance to be the president. But here's the thing, this guy has a popularity approval rating of 27%. Nobody in this country likes him. He has no way of getting elected to VP because Donald Trump can't make it as president. I'm not worried. My favorite part of this weekend was calls from Donald J. Trump asking for money. Yeah, I get a lot of texts, and I just respond by saying, fuck Donald Trump, and I block him. Neil Zach says, I'm obsessed with your podcast. Don't be obsessed with anything. There's nothing worth being obsessed about. I'm always here. Just Every day I do this shit. Run Ann. I'm 63 and love Tay. I know a lot of her songs. Well, yeah, I know. There's a lot of people um, my age that love Taylor Swift. And I'll tell you this, my mom, who's long since passed away, she'd be in her 80s by now. But way back in the day when Taylor Swift was this little girl, there's a little girl and she would show up on some shows, and my mom was a big country fan. She saw this little girl, Taylor Swift, before anybody really knew who she was. And she kept telling us, you got to watch that little girl because she's going to do some big things. Now, my mom's passed away, but hopefully she's watching from above and knows she was right. She was dead on with that. Um, did you hear JD Vance and him and his team were not being allowed in a restaurant? Yeah. Well, JD Vance was going to go there and give some kind of campaign thing. And the restaurant said, yeah, you can't come in here with cameras. So they did it in the parking lot. But then yesterday, actually today, Kamala Harris went there and they let him in. So, but here's the problem. Now the Republicans are talking shit about that restaurant. They're getting threats and bomb threats and all that sort of shit. That's just how the Republicans play. Do you see the possibility of Kamala president and not having Senate and Congress to go with her? No, I don't see that. That's not going to happen. She is most certainly going to win the House, and I believe she can win the Senate. No, that won't happen. To keep my blood pressure down, I don't listen to 45 or watch network news lately. I watch The West Wing instead. That's probably good advice. I can only listen to Donald Trump so long. It annoys me. I want to retort, and of course you can't hear it, so there's no point. The media, I can listen to certain places for a certain period of time, and then I just get tired out with it. I got to watch something else. Let's see here. We're getting down close. I'm gonna go about another 4 minutes, and I'm gonna wrap her up. Do you think Ted Cruz will lose? I do think he will lose. I really do. DNC is investing more for Colin Allred in Texas. Well, here's the thing you got to understand. The Democrats have all kinds of money, and the Republicans don't have any money because Donald Trump is sucking up the money. He's siphoning the money off of the RNC, and he's not giving any money to the down ballot folks. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, is helping to fund Colin Allred as well as the DNC. So, in terms of funding, they're outspending um, Ted Cruz, and I'm hoping against hope they beat him because that piece of shit, nobody, even his buddies, don't like him. How come no one talks about Trump's dementia? Because he is losing it. Well, that's a very good question. Joe Biden is fully cognizant, but he's slow, so they're all over his shit. Donald Trump says crazy shit, can't keep track of a single sentence, and nobody says anything. I've heard the media say, why don't they talk about him? The question is, why don't you talk about them? Why do you give him a pass on that sort of thing? Donald Trump is not mentally well. He's not in a position to run a popcorn stand, let alone a country. So, yeah, I agree with you there. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. Been here an hour and a half. Our moderators have done a great job keeping the Trumplafucks at bay. I thank them for that. TJ the plumber, I think Gray Captain's out there too. I want to thank all of you for coming and spending some time. I don't usually give any advance notice. All of a sudden I'm here, and then all of a sudden you all show up, and it's absolutely much appreciated by me. I really, really do appreciate it. If it wasn't for your attention, there'd be no point in me doing what I do. So you have a great night. And again, if you only heard part of the live and you want to hear it, this live has been recorded so that it will be a podcast, the Rational Boomer podcast. It'll go up right after midnight. You get the video version on YouTube, or you can get the audio version on Spotify. So check that out. Again, thanks very much for joining me. You have a great night. We'll talk to you again soon. All right. And they turned my camera off. Okay. We're back with the Rational Boomer podcast. So that live went pretty well. We didn't have too much trouble with the Trumplafucks. That's good news. I think we talked about as much as we can possibly talk about for a Sunday night going into Monday morning. I want to thank you all for listening, taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great night, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.